Welcome back. We're going to begin by looking at the judiciary and the nation's...
Nigeria's democracy and the way forward, the judiciary and democracy. Any which way you want to put it, it all boils down to one thing.
Thank you, Professor Neota.
Thank you. I didn't know.
Yes. Yes, the concept of democracy needs to be understood before we can appreciate the roles of the judiciary in its sustenance. You understand that in a democracy, we have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. The judiciary in a democracy resolves conflicts involving individuals, organizations, government, and political parties. And it also has the power to actually review the actions of both the executive and the legislature. So, how is our judiciary doing in the scheme of things? It's my pleasure to welcome a legal practitioner, Mr. Ezenwa Iruaganachi. Good morning, as well as Mr. Ezekiel Nya-Etok, who is the National Chairman, Young Democratic Party.
Thanks for having me.
Good. Now he thinks he's a young man. Young Democratic.
He calls himself an elder statesman. Elder statesman.
No, he's a youth. Remember the chap we had in the studio who was the leader of the youth in Nigeria?
He's about 56 years old.
Something like that.
Yes.
In my case, I insist on being addressed as an elder statesman.
Okay. Elder statesman. We are still expecting another legal practitioner, Mr. Tony Ebe, to join us in the course of the discussions this morning. Now, let me start with Mr. Iruaganachi, who is a legal practitioner, and this is his constituency we're talking about. Now, the judiciary is very important in the scheme of things, and I would look at them like they hold the whistle. They are the referees in this game of democracy that we play. How well do you think our judiciary has played that role?
Well, I think the judiciary is really done creditably well. Because we are also in a milieu, so to speak, where things are not really certain. So many things keep cropping up in this, democratic system. You have all sorts of distortions, all sorts of problems, all sorts of things that keep shaping our democracy. And the judiciary is trying as much as possible to also keep pace with these issues, so to speak.
Okay. Let me swing the same question to you. Of course, he will prejudice because he's one of them. What are your thoughts?
You could say making the best of a bad situation, because what comes to the judiciary is what they have to contend with, is what they have to cope with. And
judge by.
And judge by. And you look at the tools they have to work with. You look at the work environment. You look at the society generally, and the fact that these people operate in the same space that we do, and we expect so much from them. The issue is, to what extent have we enabled them to do dispense justice? To what extent have we put in place institutions and systems that resolves issues and only allows them to handle those that cannot be handled? How do we make sure that they are not overburdened? These are human beings. If a man has about 24 cases waiting, he's expected to do due diligence on all the 24 cases. He's expected to deliver judgment based on antecedents and precedents and the law. And to what extent does he have the things that will enable him to go through all the cases? Does he have the necessary research assistance? I think that we have very high expectation of the lawyers or the judiciary. At the same time, I don't think that we've given them the much that they need to be able to function well. So I think that they're just probably making the best of a bad situation. I also believe that there are some people who are lawyers that have no understanding of what the legal profession is all about. They are there for the money, And because they are there for the money, they are commercial lawyers at all levels. And that is like being a doctor. That's not probably the calling of such a person.
I don't know if
I
you would
would-
agree
I
with
would-
that.
I
I'm
would-
coming back to you here. So go ahead.
Well, that's his opinion.
Yeah, personal.
His perception about these issues. But again, you have to understand that when a lawyer is called upon to either defend a matter
Yes.
or to project a matter or whatever it is that the lawyer is called upon to do, he has a professional duty to do that. Even I hear people say, I don't want to defend criminals, or how can you be defending this criminal? Well, basically it is the function of a lawyer to defend that criminal.
Yeah.
It is a professional function that the lawyer has to defend the criminal. So sometimes I think we mix so many things up. Sometimes it's the lawyer who is seen as. But that is not. I appreciate where you're coming from, because you're saying that essentially, I think what you're trying to say is that there are situations where lawyers should be able to advise their clients and say, hey, this
That's the question I was going to ask.
don't go
Yes.
beyond this.
The question
You understand me?
The question I was going to ask is, in a democracy, there are individual players, and but the individuals are part of an institution, which is a political party. So, but there are lawyers also. Do the lawyers there, do you think they give enough advice so that the parties and the individuals do not overburden the judiciary at the end of it? He talked about multiplicity of cases in front of the judges that they have to look at and then still correct some of these errors in our democracy.
Yeah, the problem here is when a lawyer gives an advice to a client, he can't force the client to take that advice.
Okay.
So when you give an advice and the client does not take the advice, he either leaves you and goes to pick up somebody else who does not share the same perspective with you, and they go ahead to do.
He insists that
Yes.
you go ahead.
Yes.
Let's try our luck.
And the problem with this problem, the thing here is, I've been talking about uncertainties. Maybe it is now that the Supreme Court has this wicked case that just come up now. It's now beginning to define certain things. So things have become quite, maybe when we see their judgment, we'll be able to know what it is that was really their reasons for. But that would now set the pace. So when you are now dealing with a position and you say, but look, the Supreme Court has settled this matter, so there's no point in going any further.
Okay. In a true democracy, how important is it that the judiciary is independent?
Oh, it is imperative. It is imperative. But I don't know what we are really running in this system. You understand what I'm saying? But in a true democracy, it is imperative that the judiciary should be totally independent of both the executive and the legislature. That way.
How would you then describe ours at this point in time?
I think it's a work in progress.
That's playing safe.
No, because the truth is, when you look at what has happened from 1999 to date, I'm not really sure that we are really running what we call a proper democracy if we compare it to certain other climes. But it's a work in progress. I mean, we're evolving. We will get there.
Ezekiel is dying to say something about that.
You see, the initial answer I gave is extremely fundamental. And it goes to the root of professionalism. Now, in my days, way back in the days, we had guardian counseling officers who told us what a profession was all about. For instance, a nurse is a caregiver. One expects certain character traits, certain attributes from you. For you to be an architect, you need to understand what it is about. For you to be a lawyer, you need to understand what it's all about. You are going to do a whole lot of research, reading, referencing, references. Now, how many people that are 40 years and below from 75, when professionalism took a back door, to 79, when we now replace professionals with contractors, okay, to the present day, when things are so hard and the only profession we have is money making. How many people understand, these young people, how many of them understand that for you to be an architect, this is what is expected of you. For you to be a policeman, you look at a young American child and he says, I want to be a firefighter. You ask him why. He says, because they're able to rescue people, they're able to save people. So because from youth, he's seeing that service as the motivation. When he becomes a firefighter, what gives him the kick? What gives him that motivation? What gives him that incentive is that he's been able to do this, he's been able to do that. It's not about he's got the biggest car. If you want to make money, if making money is your motivation, probably you want to be a Hollywood, movie star, or you want to be a basketballer, you want to be a footballer. We understood they understand what they want, and they go along such lines. Today we have lawyers who are expected, by my understanding, to be removed from the system, or judges, so as to be able to dispense justice with their eyes closed.